So about to use the thing, see if it works.
Okay, buddy. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so I started recording. Are there any parish notices that you want to cover before we proceed?
No.
No. Okay, cool.
Nothing.
I got
Yesterday.
I got 22 minutes to go, and then after that, in about like 45 minutes after that, I'll be back online, and we can carry
cool.
on.
I'm clear for the next until you fall unconscious. So 22 minutes, and then whatever you
Okay.
do after.
Yeah, cool.
Yep.
Okay. So the topics from my side are this dimension overlap that we've found with Satoshi Island.
It's an interesting thing, isn't it? And also, obviously, that's two-dimensional. Well, n-dimensional, but projected to 2 dimensions.
Right. And then the 3D version I'm picking is sort of, you pick some fundamental dimensions for your viewer, like X is money, Y is something else. See, I don't even know. This is the thing I need help with. And then Z would be like goodness, or like maybe Y is environmental, and then Z is goodness. And so like a negative goodness crystal, you got all these different dimensions that are all sort of also in the third dimension.
Yeah, because inherently that 2D one is only positive. You can have 0, but you can't go below 0.
Well, it's really just taking a common dimension that's common to all of them, like all things are either good or bad, all things are either plus money or negative money, and all things are either plus carbon or plus environment or negative environment. And so it's just taking advantage of the 3 dimensions to be able to consume those, so they're not in the radar chart at all. Now the whatever dimensions are left, those are in 3D space. And so what it means is you can look at a crystal, and at first blush, because it's largely pointing up, you could say that's mostly a positive thing. And then if something's largely pointing down, you're like, oh, that is not a good thing. That is a bad thing with a bad impact. And same with like color as well. Like I'm just trying to think of ways to, like, this is as much an exercise about inventive and artistic statistical presentations, and a way to give right. It's a way to present as geometry a relatively fucking complicated thing, but crucially it gives it a comparison where you can look at two things and just without any tools or anything else, just your raw eyeballs, be like, this one I like more than this one.
Yeah.
Now, one further point on that that I wanted to add is that we have started dealing in a substance or substances which are absolute, and they are also unknowable in terms of they are subjectively observed but absolute in nature. Like, what is impact? We know that there is absolutely an impact.
It's like an event, right? An event happened. What people think about it, different thing.
And if you had complete visibility, omniscience, and Ford's view into the future, you could know the absolute value of the impact, because we know that it's there. But the issue is that it can't be seen at this point in time, and what we see is subjective. There's no absolute way to view it. There is an absolute. We can use what we see as evidence or proof that there is an absolute impact occurring, but we can only guess at what it is, because we're all subjective. And because of that, and because we're building a system that needs to not reject that or try and stomp it out, but needs to be adaptable to that or programmable to that, the crucial feature of these multi-dimensional crystals, the impact crystals that we're trying to come up with here, is that each one, whilst they share data, they're not required it's not either our view or no view. You can talk about the same crystal, but you've just dialed your crystal generator differently, and
About
so
what you care about.
well,
Right.
yeah, and so you can be talking about the same event with the same data, depending on how you configured your your crystal chamber. It'll pop out a different shaped crystal depending on, and our system should allow that, because it's not saying that what we say a crystal is what it is. No, what we say a crystal points at definitely happened. You are free to change how you dial up.
That's really nice way of thinking about it, because what it allows is modeling. Um, so, given the event and the information we know about that event, and giving a model, um, go ahead and generate what happens 6 months from now. Um, Given a different model, you get a different crystal. Given
Exactly.
different things you care about, you get different crystals.
Exactly.
But
And
it
if we
allows you
if
to
we if
drill
we
down.
strive really hard to have that feature, then what it means is that we can launch knowing that it's not right, and that's the very first thing everyone says to us. Oh, how come impact is this? What about this? What about that? And we're like, hang on, mate. You can come in here and you can set that setting to whatever your little heart desires. We over here, we found a group of 10 people. We all agreed amongst each other that this is what the cloud chamber was going to be set to, and this is what we're using. We made tools that were configurable. You set it to what you want. Tell me why it's better, you know. And that's the feature that we have to have. Not this like declarative. This is what impact is. We have to have it as, this is my view of impact, your view of impact. Here's a reconciliation mechanism that we've agreed on. We've met each other halfway, a third way, a natural language midpoint, whatever. And
Yeah.
together we agree that that's close enough to impact that you and I can now get along.
Yeah. I agree. And I threw out that text earlier on about 3 ways to calibrate.
Yep.
Um, uh, I was on the heads at the moment at the time, so it's like, yeah, economic theory, bam.
Not all
And
information needs to be included in an impact crystal. Just
well, the thing is the middle one. So um, for cash, yeah, that goes back to some kind of fundamental, as does the kilogram and meter.
cash is easy, yeah.
Market is a Market is a
Market's
great one.
brilliant. Like, having the idea of an impact market means that
Yeah,
you and I can have our cloud chambers set differently, and we can reach an agreement where there's a bet or a stake or a commitment from either of us that it was genuine, what we
right.
intended to be, and then we can sort of balance out what we're each prepared to gamble, so that when it becomes available, that's when our stake matures. And if I was
Right.
too far over, it gets transferred to you, and if you were too far under, it gets transferred to me. And there's a prediction market in there, but it's not predicting future events. It's about fuck, this is a weird one. It's like trying to use future prediction accuracy to enhance the current impact view, so that you
Yes.
can
Yeah. That's exactly it. Now,
like,
this triggered a thought, and I went back into. I've not found it yet, but I'm sure there's a recording of us 3, 4 years ago. We were talking about incentivizing people to judge. Remember when we were doing judges by hand?
yeah.
And we're saying we'll incentivize you to come in and say, yeah, that's going to be a big impact on this thing. Now, um, we've got a couple of things there. So we've got this now past. The past is good, recorded. Now is what we're talking about. Future is the tricky bit. Um, People who can consistently say that the 6 months from now the impact's going to be this, and then we get to 6 months, and they're right. Their
Mm,
reputation should have more weight, and so
mm.
now this is really fucking, this is about as raggedy as it gets, right? But there may be something that we want to resurrect from one of our old conversations around this idea that you get people to say that's a good idea, or that's going to have an impact, or that's a good thing to do, and so on. And then as the flame front gets further on and we learn more, It's like you can predict the future really quite well, so
Yeah,
we're going to give you more weight, and we're going to,
that's what it should be. That's a perfect example of where we can use machine learning to look at all of that information that was input and then be able to get a machine to ultimately have a reasonable wisdom of the crowd style
Right,
accuracy in
right,
future
right.
prediction.
Exactly. And if we get a couple, making savants out there who can cut the crystal at any one time and go, fucking hell, that's a really good idea,
Mm.
and say that, then that has weight in terms of their future predictive value
Right, but
as,
it's not also just about the future, like, hey, is that a really good idea? It's also about guessing the number of jelly beans in the jar. If someone's
yeah,
if
but
someone's like, well, I don't know how much CO2 that this event that just occurred, I don't know how much CO2 it produced, and you're like, well,
I know,
let's
but that's exactly why the reputation is a good thing. When I was down at Fima Past, we had this camp. Guess the jelly beans in a jar competition. 200 people win the company, and I was the CEO at the time, and I hit it bang on. Um,
that's suspicious.
it was really embarrassing because I was the one who set up the competition as a kind of thing,
Oh,
and it's like then I
that
had to give
is
jelly beans for everyone. But it's a fairly straightforward calculation. Everyone else was looking at it, guessing, and I was going, well, circumference here. Let's give the average size of a jelly bean. That's the height. It wasn't that hard. It was just basically a cylinder, roughly.
right.
But if you get guys that are good at taking the different quanta around in order to say what the value is, the impact is now, um, those guys, I think, should be recognised and weighted for it and
Yeah, yeah. Okay,
the
so
contribution.
we'll build into the we'll call this thing that you view an impact crystal with. For now, we'll call that a cloud chamber. The
Mm-hmm.
cloud chamber is
Oh, I'll do
configurable
that. Yeah, yeah.
by
I like that.
anyone,
Yeah,
and
and involves
different
random events.
different configurations can be um, consensus with other people, but
Mm-hmm.
you can also place bets that your configuration is closer to true than someone else's. Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay. So
yeah,
then it's an impact market, an impact
yeah,
prediction market to solve what everyone agrees is a very hard problem, which is okay, money's just one dimension of impact. What are all the
yeah,
others? Which is
yeah.
fucking, what are the dimensions even?
Well, there's
And
there's
how
there's going to be
much?
new ones popping up, but there's probably going to be like a dozen or so
I honestly feel like there's
fundamentals.
only a dozen, and if
Yeah,
there's any more than that, they probably are close enough to one of the dozen that
yeah,
it doesn't really matter. But there's more than three, and there's more than five. Like it's more than fits in your head in one shot. You
yeah,
know?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Okay. So that's a great feature set to define there, and then the second thing I'm actually incredibly eager to get defined is I think we have now the visibility of what, like, I wouldn't call it done. We need to define what it is, but it's a milestone that we can get to where we have the CRM operating in production with ambient attribution incentivizing the stuck loop. What would you
yeah.
call that state?
Launch, I don't know, or
Launch?
fucking Inception, maybe. Um,
First
Inception might be a
customer?
better one. Yeah, that's just another event though. So, um, I
Okay,
don't know.
well,
Maybe
we'll
something
name it.
else.
Well, what I'm getting at is that I don't think now's the time, but there's coming soon where we can actually set ourselves a deadline and launch with whatever the fuck we've got. Like, that
Well, you
is
can see
enough.
it in your head for the first time. You can actually see all the stuff that needs to be done in my
Yeah,
head
that's what I'm
on my
getting at.
side,
Yeah,
and
right,
it's like,
right,
yeah, okay, so it's just a matter of time, days, weeks,
right.
thing.
That's right. Now,
But
Mr. Hinchcliffe showed us a very, very effective technique by saying, like, when you can see enough, it's a good thing to plan it out in excessive detail and then shoot for that date.
all right, well, I'm up for that on my side. Yeah, Yeah.
So
We can do. It's probably going to take a lot of toing and froing, but I can certainly stack rank the stuff that is on this side.
yeah, and of course we can, because I don't know if it's too soon, but it does really feel like we can see all the bits, and we can probably put some pieces against it. Like, okay, even if at the start the projected date alters, do you think it'd
The
still be a
date.
worthwhile exercise?
I'm less keen on the date because there's so many unknowns to this. I
Yeah, but the
prefer
purpose of the
to.
exercise is to squeeze out the unnecessary unknowns by sticking to a date. So it's not about hitting a date with everything we want. It's about dumping things along the way to make the date work. It's about stuffing it in a
Isn't
box.
isn't that going to be done by the most efficient route on that one would be to have an iterative stack rank and some kind of notional idea of moving forward. I don't know.
Yeah,
The thing is,
I
we can
think we're
say
close, man. We're close to being able to.
July 4th, and it's like it doesn't actually hold any weight, but a stack rank does hold weight because it's like if we're looking at where we're going too slowly. Really, what I want to say is like, are we getting
Right.
any
Yeah.
out
Okay.
of
Okay. So
this?
before we set a date, we need to actually get a measure of our capable speed. So
Yeah,
we need that stack anyway.
yeah,
Um.
and then maybe t-shirt up those stack items,
Yeah.
and then
Because it'd be
we could
great to
translate that into a date for sure. But
it'd be great to be able to talk to the CRM guys and be like, look, we predict that we've got enough now to have this date as when we think we can have this sort of thing going, because they've been very, very flexible, but
I'm very patient. Yeah.
yeah, and it is worth absolute gold to us to have a deployed customer. And can you, if we just deal with that in a minute, how we're going to hit it and dates and all that.
Uh-huh.
In the statement of that operating state, shall we call it launched or some other name?
Yeah.
What
There's
is
two. Sorry, go ahead.
what is missing from that description that isn't like what else would you want to pack in there? If I put a bunch of weight on this event and I said when we get there, we are going to go out to market and raise capital. We are going to list a public company. We are going
Right.
to
It
go and
depends where
find.
we draw the line. Right. I've got your description here. So effectively, it was CRM. Sorry, I don't have your description here.
I'm gonna
Something
get
like
it. I'll type it up for you. Hang on a second.
Lots of pretty pictures, and then a weird one about didn't understand why you sent me the Amazon.com kind of archaic.
I thought it was funny to note that we got you in your little hut. We got me in my little fucking like hobbled little situation, and it like those guys are untouchable now. But there was a time when they looked fucking stupid.
What, when they spray painted the logo? I quite
That
like the
was
spray painting of the logo.
that
That's
was
kind of
before they were big.
yeah. Well, that's
That
before
was
there were anyone.
Yeah, and it was just like it looked like a shared office. Just like
So, so I managed to find it. So it's like CRM operating in production with ambient attribution, incentivizing the stuck loop is our definition of done. Okay, so what I mentioned a couple of things that were missing there from that description. One was really kind of in respect pissy, saying the operation is now. Yeah, of course, let's take that right. But then there's the other things that I don't think need to be done. For example, remember I went down a bit of a rabbit hole trying to get bots to improve bots, and that doesn't come into that definition. So what we've got is a CRM operating in NL with ambient attribution and a stuck loop. I think that's a fairly parsimonious and decent way of describing it. Probably need to spend a bit more time and think about edge cases about what we're missing from that. But
Right.
we don't need to get it exact, right?
Well, yeah. So let's talk
we
about
know
that,
it,
right? Like, so what I imagine is that, we are running out of time because the world is waking up to how good an LLM actually is. I have not met anyone that I think gives an LLM the awe and respect that it deserves because nobody has yet captured it in a place that can unlock value that's not a chatbot. The CRM is not a chatbot. The CRM is a fundamental revamp of how programming itself is done. Now, we can make this system. We know that there are some extra special things that are important in that system that, first of all, are only practically possible because of natural language, like ambient attribution, like the stuck loop. We know we must have those in order to get this effortless elasticity that we seek.
Mm-hmm.
So making just a CRM in itself is not like, whoopty fucking do whatever, right? But making the CRM at all is important. So should we, for example, ignore ambient attribution and the stuck loop and just get the CRM down and then plug those pieces in so long as we've left stubs available for them or jack points?
Yes, probably, right?
Probably.
Because what we want to do is now, we can go when you come back after you've got about 7 minutes left, something like that.
5 tops.
5. So we can go through this about the progress on the CRM. But the first, what that progress has been is me manually talking to one bot. That bot is my fucking best friend. He's doing a really good job. It's like a pair coder, and we'll see what's produced on that one. Probably with that iteration, a few more iterations on that, we'll get the CRM. The ambient attribution, the stuff that I've learned from actually doing a thing, CRM, I think can go back into what I was trying to do from the blank sheet up in terms of self-improvement, but also the ambient attribution. I think it's probably enough to capture contribution for now.
Right. Yeah. Right. So CRM, so long as CRM improvement is the contribution is being captured,
then we'll figure it out later
then
on.
ambient attribution is just a thing that gets plugged in on top of that.
Yeah. So
okay.
To go through the other things, stuck loop. Yeah, absolutely. We need some.
Right, because stuck loop is really how we, first of all, get the clients to say, or get us to say, hey, there's this problem, that problem, that problem. Then number 2, how we get the clients to say what their problem is. And number 3, how we can auto detect the problem without the client even saying, so that we're like way ahead of them. We know they've got a problem before they even can log a ticket, basically.
Exactly. So if I was to stack rank these, CRM is number 1. The second one I would say is stuck loop. And by stuck loop, I mean the identification of stucks. It's enough at the moment, I think, just to identify, I don't know. But then where does that go?
The identification.
And the next one is the recording of contribution, and we'll sort out that, in due course. The next part, possibly, I have to think about this one, but it would be good to automate the stuck loop a bit.
But when you say a bit, it's
the reason I'm saying a bit is what I was about to say. So the hardest nut here is ambient attribution, right? We don't want to hold back the CRM
No,
because
no,
we don't
no.
have ambient attribution? No.
Ambient attribution is not the hardest nut, because the definition of done for ambient attribution is started, because the critical confounding thing to think about is that ambient attribution is subject to the stuck loop, just like everything else. And so the first version of ambient attribution doesn't need to be paradise. It just needs to
Yeah. Okay.
sort of
Yeah. Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
work.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
we know we can already do that. So it's not as much about getting the formula right as it is about getting the box diagram right, or the API right. And then just having like this goofball fucking GPT-4 version in there that's just like $20 to this guy, $50 to this guy, and the rest to the Pope. Like, doesn't matter. It's subject to the stuck loop is what matters.
Yeah. So good. So stack ranking these roughly. We can do a manual CRM just based
Okay, so
on
CRM, I
based.
think that done for the CRM is the hardest bar, because done is user acceptance testing has passed.
No, I think
No.
the first step is there's something that we put in front of users, because what we want is
Oh, so
users
you're
using
talking
it
about
and the stuck
stages
loop,
though. Like, stages. So you're
to
like
tell us. Yeah.
So what's this?
So it's like
This is a
put something in
prototype.
front of them. Yeah.
Prototype feedback, and then we're gonna say,
And then stuck loop needs to kick in, because what I really want is
oh, you want stuck
for
loop then? Okay, well, let me put the other bits. Well,
uh,
it's gonna go mock data, and then it's
yes.
gonna go full data, and full
Yeah.
data requires security.
Right. Well, that's quite a big one. Yes.
Yeah, but then sorry, what did you say before? What were you trying to inject in there?
My train of thought was we put the prototype in front of the users.
Yeah.
Fine, they can we can have a Zoom call, whatever. But really, what I really want is a stuck loop, identifying where they're from their session prompts, what their problems are, without them even have to articulate it.
Okay.
So
that might be. I think we got to get that prototype and some manual feedback first to even figure out what the stuck loop looks like.
yeah,
I don't think the stuck loop is hard. I think it's really just a list with a bunch of filters that can run over it using NL.
no, that's fine. That's the kind of the other side of it. No, the interesting thing about the stuck loop that I'm looking for is using NL to look at sessions and say, even though the user didn't say it,
Even though the user didn't say it, yeah. So that's the third and most refined form of the stuck loop. I don't think we need that at the start. We just need, like,
okay.
The reason I'm trying to say that the CRM has a golden bar, which is, did the customer accept it as now we're using it in production, right? And if we can rally around that and do whatever it takes to get that, all these other things should be in the service of that.
Oh well, that's that. If you define it as done for now,
That's what done. Yeah.
then all we need is the essentials for a production environment, which is the deployment environments, the security aspect, the APIs to pull the data out, and the NL to do something that we can get feedback on.
So we submit to them. So the steps we'd go through is we submit to them a prototype. Man, I'm gonna have to
with fake data, and then we get the security stance and the deployment sorted in terms of we're not going to screw them on day one, and it's going to be relatively fast. And that's what.
And then we can add all. We can
production, right?
Yeah, that's production. We can add all these other things in. Like stuck loop is something we'll be doing it manually by just ingesting the faults, but we got to get stuck loop through these stages, which is
I'm already doing it manually just through a RECO.
So internal NL assisted.
Yeah.
And then customer contributed, and then AI detected.
Yep. And then only once we get that, now remembering that we should be anticipating attribution by just recording contribution, but that's dead easy,
Right.
At that point, we can talk about ambient attribution because the stuck loop really is the engine.
Okay. And contribution recording, we need to work on that because right now it's in Git, but the in-house stuff isn't really. Like, you've got it in Git, but it needs to be in Git on the platform. So that's different. Like, contribution recording means.
Also, I've been changing the format and folder structure, willy-nilly because nobody else, is looking at it really all new.
It's the
So we need
stabilizing.
to do something.
I gotta go, mate. I'm very sorry, but
No worries.
this I think is this. I'll message you when I'm done.
Cool. We'll pick this up.
Okay.
It's good exercise to do, actually.
We should do this. We got to do this. This is the launch plan.
Yeah. Nice
Okay.
one.
See you soon.
All right. See you in a bit.